Good morning. Can you hear me? There's a little bit of a delay. So sometimes I will be speaking out of sync with the chat, or you'll notice that. And I've never figured out what to do about that, but that's the way it is. I hope you're doing well. You're looking forward to completing this course in 3 weeks. It's going to be a marathon. I recognize some of the names in the class. Maybe I had you for 3106. Is the sound all right? It's not too scratchy. I don't know how to describe it, but sometimes there's a lot of static. Or am I too loud? I have to turn down the volume sometimes. Very good. Okay, so Daviana, you wrote me that you couldn't open the documents. Were you able to now? Something's going on. I use Outlook, and it looks like it's running some virus scanning of documents and sometimes blocks them. I've had the same problem with other students. So let me know if you have trouble opening the documents I sent. I sent you 2 copies of the notes for today, and one is going page by page on the slides, and the other has 2 pages or 2 slides at a time on a page. So if you want to print your notes, I recommend you print the notes. You probably want to print the smaller file with less pages and 2 slides per page. Okay, good. So I guess they just had to load before you opened up your files, the ones I sent you. So here we are in this course. I'm going to be teaching in English, as you've noticed. I do have a bilingual prontuario, which I just use because I guess it draws attention of the students immediately with the dates in Spanish and key information in Spanish. And then I just left my titles, headings in Spanish and write in English. Anyway, it's some sort of compromise I made when I first started teaching at the UPR. So there are about 13 students in the class. So this is going to be good. We could even meet comfortably in Teams if we need to. Just let me know if you prefer that. I'm fine with, I like using YouTube just because all the documents, all the meetings are all in one place. And so that's how I use it. YouTube is the most popular. It's a very seamless bandwidth. We are able, except when we have a connection that breaks, we're able to capture everything with captions and translation. So I really like YouTube. The issue of the power, if we lose connection, if I lose connectivity, I need to start a new stream just like I did, because otherwise I lose the chat. So if there's any break in the video, I have to start a new stream. So you can just go to that playlist that I linked you to, and you can find the new stream there. All right, like this one I called new stream. Okay, good. So you're able to open the documents. So I'm going to start with a prontuario. And at some point, I will meet you. I just wanted to get started with the course, at some point I'll come on the video. It's just a matter of me setting up the software to show me in the screen. I don't want to be distracting. I'd just pretty much be looking down at my iPad. So there's not much value in me being on the screen, but maybe just to say hi at some point, or we can meet in Teams and make introductions. That would be a good idea. But this course does go very quickly, so we just have to get to it. You're going to notice a lot of repetition here between this course and 3106. However, I just touch on the topics that you would have already learned, and then we go deep into them. Okay, so I do a brief introduction, and then we go much more profoundly into the topics. So we will do our best to get through the syllabus, or all the topics in the syllabus, in the next 3 weeks. I mentioned that you do not have to attend the lectures, but I highly advise that you do attend the lectures, because it will just pile up, 3 hours, 3 hours of videos to watch a day. And if you're watching it on your own, you will be rewinding probably, and that will slow things down as well. So you could spend a whole day reviewing a 3-hour video and fall behind. So I recommend that you attend lectures and then get on with your day. All right, so any questions right now? My throat is a little scratchy. I need to get some water at some point. So what I'll do, every half hour or hour, I'll take a little break, and I'll let you know when. And you can have a break, a washroom break, or a water break, okay? Or a snack. You can get a snack. But we will go close to 12 o'clock, maybe sometimes over, just to finish material. All right? And you will see I also am going to occupy your weekends. So it's just 3 weekends. It's just 3 weeks. I really hope you can stay with me and get through this, because it's worth your while to finish this course successfully. Okay. So, I have a PhD in economics, but I've been teaching corporate finance, or this course, material of this course, since 2000, so 20 years. So that is why I am teaching it to you here. This class will be every morning, your whole morning. Well, I guess unless you wake up much earlier than 9. You can meet with me. We can talk on the phone, by FaceTime, by WhatsApp. We can meet in Teams if you like, and we can meet in groups. Just let me know. Give me notice if you need to meet, and we'll do that. We could possibly meet in person, but I'm only here in San Juan for the next 2 weeks, and then I'm going away. And that will mean that if you want to meet with me personally, we meet in the next 2 weeks. So you'll have to let me know. The last day of class is on June 25th. And as you see, I will have tests. Well, I called them in the first initial email I sent yesterday. I called them assignments, but I settled on calling them tests because they have quite a portion of the final grade. So I'll call them tests. What I'm going to do for these first 3 tests is send you the test, and on either Friday or Saturday, and then you will complete it and send it back to me before 3 p.m. on Sunday. All right? Now I'm going to send you several problems for you to complete. You're going to complete them in your own handwriting on separate pages. You're going to scan them, combine them into a single document, and email them back to me. I will be grading them. Because time is limited, I'm only going to grade 1 or 2 questions. You're going to see there's lots of questions, but I will pick 1 or 2 to grade, so you should complete them all. And you will get the weight of probably 2 questions. 2 questions will be graded for your as your exam 1 grade, exam 2 grade, and exam 3 grade. Then there will be a final exam on the Monday, the 28th of June, and it will be in the morning from 9 till 12, and it will be in Connect. I am not going to ask you to complete assignments in Connect for points. However, I will prepare assignments in Connect for you to practice. I recommend you do them in preparation for the final exam that will be in Connect. I sent you the instructions on how to purchase the Connect license, and you will need it immediately. And the textbook is there, resources are there, and I will be posting the assignments for you to see and Connect. Any questions about Connect, please let me know. I'm just going to make a note for myself. 1 second. All right. So the description of the course, topics that look familiar to you, and the textbook. Okay, the calculator. I mentioned the calculator. Is anyone going to have trouble getting this calculator, or they want to talk about this calculator with me? So I mentioned in the prontuario, I'll get to it, that, well, yeah, it's here. I mentioned here that I'd like you to get the TI BA2 Plus, Texas Instrument BA2 Plus financial calculator. If for whatever reason you cannot get that, or you can't buy the app on your smartphone or your iPad even, at least have a calculator that can conduct internal rate of return computations. Now you can do what we're doing in this class, you can do it in Excel as well, but that means you're not learning the calculator. And a goal of this course is that you learn how to use a financial calculator, although I didn't put it in the objectives. It is one of my objectives, okay? That is for purposes of opening you up to the possibility of writing the CFA exam, the Chartered Financial Analyst exam, that covers this material and more. So I should probably consider putting that in the objectives. Making another note to myself. I'm going to ask if you have any comments. I have no idea about the TI Inspire, Kelvin. It's Kevin. You need to check if it has this functionality. If it doesn't have this functionality, then it's not going to work for you. That's a main clue. Yeah, I don't know if the Inspire is a finance calculator. I've never heard of it. Well, maybe I have heard of it, but I forgot. The TI-84, the graphic calculator I mentioned, will work. It's more tedious, but it works. You have to enter way more keystrokes than this one here. So as I mentioned, you can get this calculator in your smartphone or your iPad or tablet. No, Melanie, the exam is just the final exam will be in Connect. The other test will be, I will send you a document with the questions for the tests, okay? Yeah. All right, let's see. So those are the topics relative to the textbook. So these are the textbook chapters that relate to the topics, and I'll refer you to those. Like I say, I will have you solve problems in Connect related to these chapters. So I will refer to the chapters of the assignment. So the title of the assignment will be Assignment on Chapters 1, 2, 3, etc. Okay. So the exams are, like I said, due 3 p.m. on Sundays, June 13, 2027, and these are the relative weights of those components. And the final exam will be rather cumulative, like you have to know everything, really. I'll obviously focus on the more new material for the final, but you need to know everything for the final. And in 3 weeks, I don't think you'll forget what you learned the first week. There is going to be a lot of material, but it will be a comprehensive test using all the things you've learned. I have sent you documents that include a formula sheet, and this is just a starting formula sheet which you can build upon, but it gives you an idea of what you can put on a formula sheet. That formula sheet would be used in a presential class where the students can bring the formula sheet, and that's what they can use during a test to write the tests. In this case, you can just prepare it to ease your studying for solving problems on assignments and tests, okay? So it's just nice to have everything in 1 or 2 pages right beside you, as opposed to having to sift through all your papers or, digital documents. Also, it's really a good exercise to prepare a formula sheet so you have everything on 1 page and they relate. And you'll see when we get to it, you'll see how I've laid it out just to get you started on making your own formula sheet. So here I mentioned the exams. Let me make this a little bigger. So exams 1, 2, and 3 will be distributed via email on Friday night or Saturday morning of the weekend. Students will have the weekend to complete the test. Only a few questions will be graded, but I will not indicate which ones. Students must prepare their answers in handwriting on separate pages, scan and combine these pages into a single document, then send them back to me before 3 p.m. on the Sunday of that weekend. There will be no makeup tests, okay? So if anything happens and you have a valid reason, let me know, and I will move the weight of the test to the final. So you'll be writing the final for much more weight. So that's all I say here. You can review this today and get back to me tomorrow or by email if you have any questions. Make sure you review any grading immediately. You have 2 days in which to ask for me to review my grading, okay? Otherwise, I will not look at it. Time will fly, so it's really important that I look at any appeals immediately and not let time lapse. So I encourage you to participate. I have given you the link to the playlist of all my videos. You'll see, I don't know if we're at 100 videos yet, but no, it can't be. I'm trying to think. Anyway, we have lots of videos in the finance topic. It's going to be, I'm going to cover the same material, but maybe I've said it in a different way in the past. Or if you want to work ahead, you can find videos with the same topics covered in the playlist. I want to show you what timestamps are in a moment to help you understand how you can navigate through the videos. So I'll do that in a second. All right, so if you need help, you should let me know. If you need any additional help to clarify things, sometimes it's just resolving calculator issues. Sometimes you might, it just might be a simple thing. So let me know if you have any questions immediately. And if it looks like you need more attention on a daily basis, maybe I'll put you in touch with a tutor. Some tutors, you pay them, and I don't know, maybe I could find someone to help you. Otherwise, I'm not sure if I get a teaching assistant in the summer. Usually I do. If I have a teaching assistant, that person can also be available to help you. So it's something I have to look into. Let me make another note. But I suggest you come to me first, okay? All right, and then I have the reglamentos below. Any questions about the prontuario? I already see a few typos. I'm going to fix them and send you a revised one today after class. I'm going to add in that financial calculator as one of my objectives. Any questions? So once again, just to remind you, I am going to, if we lose connectivity, it means I lose the chat. It doesn't get saved with the video. So I will start a new stream. So if that happens, I need to monitor that. Okay, everything looks good. All right, so here's my formula sheet. This is document 1. And we begin with the topic of time value of money. I'm going to recommend that you read chapter 1 lightly and make sure you understand the concepts there, because I will raise them. I will refer to them throughout the course. But where I really want to start is time value of money, because we have no time to waste. I want to do a nice review of what you know about time value of money and teach you, after reviewing the common formulas, I will get you into much more complexity. If you want me in the WhatsApp group, that's fine, Obi. Am I saying your name right? I should actually probably read your names. Let's see. Let's do that. Make sure I have your names right. We have Melanie, Alejandra, Tatiana, Miguel, Daniel, Obed, Carlos, Ángel, Laura, Pérez, and Laura, Rodriguez, Daviana, and Casey. So you don't have to put your personal name in YouTube. It's fine. Don't worry about having your actual name to identify yourself. But I didn't mention that before. I probably should have. But you're Obi for now. So about WhatsApp, fine if you want to have me in the WhatsApp group, or if you want to have your own WhatsApp group, that's fine. Just invite me. Let me know. I do agree that chats are easier to reach each other than the emails. Just making another note to myself. Okay. All right, so this is the formula sheet. So this is an example. The formula here and the timeline that corresponds to the formula. This is acceptable in an exam type situation if we were in a class room, right? But I'm going to stick with the strategy and the format would be to prepare this formula sheet as a study tool. Okay, so we're going to talk about these and mostly how they relate. So in a sense, you're only remembering a few things, all right? These formulas are all based on the basic time value of money relationship that is here. And I will make that clear. And then some other things, and we'll talk about it. And I'll talk about the derivation of these formulas. Though I will not expect you to derive them, if you understand how they are derived, that is going to be useful for you in problem solving. Okay, so pay attention to how I describe things, and if you need to, you can review the videos on your own to clarify exactly what I said. All right. So you guys can start the WhatsApp group and you can invite me, all right, if you like. You guys are connected through Next portal in some way for the course? How are you guys connected? Or do you need me to share your emails? Let me know. I can share it with the group. All right, so I'm going to move on to this document. Oh, I don't know what you call it. Miyupi? I don't know. Is it Miyupi that you guys have? The next portal is where I see your names. Daviana. So let me know if you need me to share amongst the group all the emails for students in the group or in the class. I can share that with you. Someone let me know so I can send an email. I want to cover that. You see what I mean about the windows? Putting myself on here takes up too much space. I'd rather have just the screen full of notes. So this is document 1.1, and I'm going to use the single page slides. You might want to use the notes with 2 slides on a page. Okay, I'm going to write it in the chat so somebody answers. Kevin, yes, it's IRR. If you see that symbol on the calculator, it should be okay. I mean, I don't know how easy it is to use. I don't know how to use that calculator. But it's the symbol IRR should be there. You'll see anyway. By the end of today, by the end of the class today, you'll have an idea if you can use that calculator or not. You can search it TI Inspire. Let me see. I'm going to check. more of a graphing calculator, but it might have a finance mode. Okay, it says there's a finance solver, so you'll have to learn how to use the solver, which is not a bad thing. Like I say, I like my calculator because... Okay, good, Kevin. Yeah, it looks like it has a finance solver, so you just got to learn how to use it, which isn't bad to learn different, to be able to adapt to new technology. The thing is, as I explained, if you are interested in writing the CFA exam, it's a good time to learn how to use the calculator that is approved for the CFA exam. Okay. All right. So, did any of you have me for 3106? I recognize some names. Because the notes are going to look similar at the beginning, but don't let that make you relax too much, because I'm going to go much deeper. Okay, Melanie wants the emails. Okay, I can share that. Let me do that. Well, I'm going to do that in the one that I already sent. How about that? Small group. I'm just setting up the email. Okay, so pull out those slides. Okay, so these are the notes. I'm going to begin with setting up the calculator and talking about cash flows, and then get into the time value of money concept. So if you do not have the calculator right now, you could come back to this part of the video to set up your calculator. And you do need to set it up because the default settings are not always ideal. Now this is for the TI-BA2 Plus calculator. And there are some versions of a financial calculator as apps in smartphones and tablets that are also set up like this. Okay, so they mimic the same layout. So I can actually show you the calculator as well. I have it here. Let's see if it fits. Okay, it fits. And you see, you have this IR button that is really important, internal rate of return. Do you guys have questions before I begin about the calculator? Okay. All right, so everyone's got something to work with. Okay, so let's see. The third row you see here is the time value of money row. That's going to be used a lot. Now that is those are memory banks for these variables. Okay, so these keys will save or store information on these variables. But as well, the calculator has other worksheets where it stores information. Here is a cash flows worksheet with this arrow, set of arrows. You can scroll through the worksheet, you see. So that's another place to store information, and I'm going to clear with this clear button here. So another place that stores memory is statistics. The statistic worksheet is here. I can activate it by second data. So if I hit second, everything blue is activated, you see? And now I have statistical data. I can enter two variable statistics in this calculator, and that's why I like this calculator. So I put XY, you see? So I have all the data for two variables at a time. Is that the most I can do? No, I can go, actually, I don't know how many I can put in there, but anyway, I can put pairs of data in or single variable data in there and then ask for statistical output or results. So that's another storage space for information on variables. Another storage space I'm going to teach you about is the actual memory for numbers I want to store. I can store up to 10 values in memory by using the store key. So if I hit, so let's say I put some number in there and I ask to store that, I hit store and then 1, it goes into memory bank 1, which I can see. Where can I see that again? All right, I can see that if I hit second memory, it shows me my different memory cells, right? So stored cells. So memory 0 has nothing, but memory 1 has 4, 5, 6 in it. I have up to 9 storage spaces, but I also have 0, so that's 10 total. All right, so you have many places on this calculator where you could store information. If you want to clear any memory, either the TVM row information or the cash flow information or the statistical information or the memory, the memory bank, if you want to clear any of those without affecting the others, you can do that. Okay, so there's ways to clear. So that's where we're going to begin, is talk about clearing different spaces. So you saw how to clear the screen. That was the lower left key to clear the screen. But if you want to clear everything, you want to wipe out all those memory banks, you can do a hard reset. That will also clear all memory settings, so how you want your calculator to appear other than the default mode that you get from the manufacturer. And you'll know what I mean by that when we get through this. So if you want to clear everything, you use a hard reset, and that is second, reset, enter, and that will wipe out anything you've stored in your calculator, including any settings. So that's second, reset, I guess I'll do it. So it's second, reset, what was it? Let's go back. Second, reset, enter. You see, I don't do it very often because I don't want to do that. Enter. It's wiped. So everything has been reset to manufacturer setting. You don't want to do that unless you have to. Something's working funny on your calculator, which after 20 years of teaching using financial calculators, it has happened, however rare, it has happened on a couple of occasions that the calculator was damaged. And by resetting it and reestablishing, your formatting for the calculator that we're going to talk about, you can check if the calculator has problems. So you might have to do a hard reset. Let's see. So if you just want to clear, however, TVM, just the TVM row, you hit second clear TVM. And where is that? That is located second clear TVM right there. All right, so second clear TVM just clears the settings of the TVM key. So if I put something in here, so there's something in each of those keys. It's still there. Even if I clear the screen, it's still there. So I want to clear just TVM, second clear TVM will do that. All right, so what if you want to clear any one of those worksheets I was talking about, like the cash flow worksheet or the statistical data worksheet or the memory worksheet? Any of those worksheets can individually be cleared as long as you're in it. So you actually have to be in the sheet and then hit second clear work, and that will clear that data bank. So if I put something, okay, I think it's all clear now in my data, but let's see, I put some things in here. Put some numbers. Just putting some numbers. I cleared the screen, but if I want to see that data, I can see it. I can scroll through, you see? So if I just want to clear that and not affect the other memory banks, I have to be in it and then hit second clear work, which is down below in the lower left corner, but in blue. So I have to hit second to activate it. So let's see, if I just clear the screen, you see it doesn't go away. The data is still there. If I hit second clear work, not in the data worksheet, the data is still there. It's always still there. So I have to actually be in it and then hit second clear work to wipe it out. Okay? Same with the cash flow key. I'm just putting numbers in. So I have something there. Let's see what I have. Those are the numbers I entered. If I hit second clear work, it doesn't know what to clear because there's so many different data banks. I actually have to be there and then hit second clear work, and now it's gone. Okay, so that's how that works for worksheets. What we want to be able to see in our screen is really important, so we have to set it up that we can see as many decimals as possible. Why do I want as many decimals as possible? Because we're going to work with interest rates, and interest rates in our calculations will be it will be necessary for interest rate calculations to store all the decimal places. So I'd like to see them and also store them. So that's why we're going to learn how to do both, right? You're going to learn that to get the answers that I get in my solution sets that I will share with you for practice, you will see that you need to, you should not round any intermediate calculations, and all those decimal places need to be stored. So it would be nice to see them as well. So to see the most you can see in decimal places, the most you can see is actually 9 decimal places. So these are the steps to change our screen to seeing 2 decimal places to seeing 9. So second format 9 enter will give us that. Second, well, sorry, let's clear this. Second format, you see, it's set to 2 decimal places right now, right? It's always showing 2. So I'm going to do second format, change it to 9, and then submit it, enter. So now it just shows 0, but if there are decimals, so I'll take 8 divided by 9, now I can see the 9 decimals. So that's an important setting. So if for whatever reason you accidentally lose that setting, you need to go back to this page in your notes to recall how to reset it. So that's important. Any questions so far? Oops, I flipped my screen. Okay. The next, so these last 3 items are very important. I mean, it's all important, but you have to be sure that these are set in your calculator when you begin to solve problems, okay? Because the formula that I will be using will be adjusted. They're formulas where the interest rate that I use in the problems, the rate that I use in the problems or in the formula are set to be effective rates. That means that the interval over which the interest rate is being stated corresponds to the compounding frequency. So effective rates, because we use effective rates, and I'll spend a lot of time on that, hopefully this week. Because we're using effective rates in our formula, we need to make sure that the calculator is compounding one time per period. So this is what this symbol is here. So this is compounding per year, per annum. But we don't want it per year, we want it per period. Anyway, this is going to achieve that. So we hit second, P by Y1, enter. So you need to submit. Notice we always hit enter to submit our setting. So second, and then P by Y is here in the TVM, and it's already 1. The default is already 1, so that's good. If you want to compound at a different frequency or with a different interval, you need to change that. But in this class, we're always going to have it set to 1. Okay? Because we use effective rates in our formula. Finally, we will assume, unless told otherwise, that any cash flows will accrue at the end of a period, which is not necessarily the case, right? If you're working a business or you're making, payments, you might not be making these payments at the end of the period, or you might not be, if you have a business, earning revenue at the end of the period. It could be at any point, but we make this assumption. It simplifies our formulas and standardizes them in a way, and that's a working assumption that we use. Okay, so to make it so that the calculator is at end of period, it's not necessary because the default is set at as though cash flows accrue at the end of the period. If we want to change that, for instance, when you make a mortgage payment or a utility payment, those are made up front, right? So if you want to use something, you pay before you use it. So rental agreements, rent is paid at the beginning of a period or beginning of a month. So sometimes you will need to change from the end of the period to the beginning of the period, and these are the settings that will do that. And this is really important, and we will spend time on learning about formulas that correspond to beginning of period scenarios. So let's see. Let's verify. Second begin, second set will change us from, notice the screen has nothing but a 0 on it. I want to change from the end mode to the beginning mode by going second, begin, here's my begin, second, and set. And now you see on your screen that there is a BGN in the upper right corner standing, signifying that your calculator is set to a begin mode. So you can use that, as I said, for valuing, determining the present value of mortgage payments or rental agreements where payments are made up front. When you're done, return your calculator to end mode, and you don't want to do a hard reset because you might have things stored in other memory spaces. So all you need to do is revert it by conducting the same keystrokes. Repeat, second begin, second set, and you'll end up back in the default of end mode. So you say second begin, second set, and you see the BGN is gone. Okay, so it's a toggle key to turn it on and off. All right, everybody's with me? So before I move forward, I want to show you how to use the memory keys because I am going to use those a lot. I mentioned to you that there's a storage key here, and there's actually a 0 we're going to add in. You can also make store 0 as well. So as I showed you, you put a number on the screen, hit store or stow, and then a number, and it will store that original value in any one of these memory banks. To see the number again, well, you can see it using second memory and the arrows to see the stored values, but if you want to use the store value, you have to recall. This is a recall. And this is store. So to recall, you hit recall and then any one of these numbers. You want to try that together? So let's say I'm going to store in 0, I'm going to store the number 10, store 0. And I'm going to put 20, store 1. No, I'm going to put 10, sorry, store 1. And 20, store 2. Let's see what I have. So I have 10 in memory 0, 10 in memory 1, and 20 in memory 2, you see? If I want to recall them, to do something with them, we can recall, you see that? Recall 1. I can recall 2. And I can recall 0. Questions? So I can make calculations. I can take recall 0 divided by recall 2. What is that going to give me? 50% or 0.5. Okay. And I always use this lower key to clear the screen. But it doesn't mean I've cleared the memory. The memory is still there. If I want to clear the memory, I have to go second memory. So I've opened up the worksheet and then second clear work. Otherwise, the calculator doesn't know what I want to clear. Okay, so that's that. Any questions about the memory, different memory banks? And storing. So I'm going to use all of those. The things that you might forget on what to do, because we've said it at the beginning, are these 3. So if anything is going wrong, if you're not getting the same answers as me, probably at some point you reset some of these and you can't see my answers, okay? Or you're not getting the answers I'm getting. Let me know right away if you can't figure it out, but also verify that these are in place or reset them. Okay, the final point to make about your calculator that can confuse some people. Some people won't get this right away, but you'll be forced to accept it, is that the cash flows that you enter in your calculator must be accompanied by a sign of positive or negative, depending on whether they are cash inflows, so money you're receiving, positive, or cash outflows, payments you're making, negative. Your calculator, particularly for the TVM functions, and the cash flow functions, anyway, finance functions require that you have the proper sign. And that is because of the programming of the formulas and solving the calculator's ability to solve the formulas is dependent on these interpretations of the cash flows. So I'll explain that more when we get to the formula. So to change the sign, use this key, the plus or minus key, which is found down here. So if you have to change it to a negative, you just toggle here. Right. Now for some this is maybe boring and I apologize, but I just want us to be on the same page when we solve exercises. Uh-oh, I gave you a dirty sheet, did I? Oh no, I gave you a marked up. I have to give you another one. Okay, let's take a break and I'm going to send you the non-marked up version of the notes. Let me see if how the other one looks. Yeah, I think this one is clean. So if you're referring to this, this is clean. Yeah. So yeah, I have an old version because I marked it up and I used it. I have to be careful about that. All right, so let's take a 5-minute break. And we'll start here. Okay, that was more like 10 minutes, but okay, let's. I sent you the clean, big version, if that helps. Oh, Kevin needs emails. Okay. Let me know. I'm going to send an email right now. Give me a minute. I'll send you everything. You know, I'll just send you all the emails. All the attachments should be there. Okay, so I also wanted to tell you that you can communicate with me in Spanish. I do understand Spanish satisfactorily. I do understand Spanish. I'm just stronger in speaking in English, so I don't want to distract the lecture by me trying to speak Spanish, because my spoken Spanish is not as good as my comprehension in Spanish. And I hope you guys understand. But you guys can write me in Spanish. We can communicate in Spanish. I'll do my best. But my understanding is pretty good relative to my spoken Spanish. All right, what I want to do is fix this screen. Oh, it's just a big slide. Maybe make it smaller this way. Anyway, so this is the basic time value of money relationship. You can think of it as a formula. But I often call it a relationship, because I manipulate it. Right? That's not the right word, but I adapt it however I need to use it. And I will talk about all the elements of it, but I want to derive it first with you. And that begins here. I'm going to take the simplest case of looking at a 2-period time horizon. Financial markets arise out of the difference in preferences of consumers. Okay, so there's some individuals who want to consume more now than they actually have at their disposal. They want to spend more, consume more than they can afford today, and they're willing to pay a price to do that, but they're going to pay that price in the future. And then on the other hand, there's other individuals who are willing to forego current consumption, but at a price. Okay, so at a price today, they're willing to give up their current consumption, and this creates financial markets where you have borrowers and you have lenders. Okay, and out of this market comes that price emerges. So this price emerges, and we call this it's an opportunity cost of deferring consumption. And we give it many names, right? This price is given many names, but it's all the same notion, the same idea. It's the opportunity cost of foregoing current consumption for whatever reason. But then there's an understanding that there should be a trade-off over time. So I'm going to show 2 periods as the simplest case of the 2-period horizon, and then I'm going to talk about this price. We have here a very simple model that you guys might be yawning at, but it's really important to understand it well. In particular, that every point in time has 2 perspectives. It's both the end of something and the beginning of something else. Okay, so this is very philosophical. At any point in time, you can look back, you could look to the future, and you can talk about the present. So here at 0, 0 is the beginning of period 1, but it's also the end of period 0, whatever happened before that. Period 1 is here in the timeline, and then it ends at period 1. So every time you see a large tick mark, that's going to be denoted as the end of the previous period. So this 1 corresponds to end of period 1. Now it seems so simple, but you'll see it can be confusing if you don't realize how I'm using the timeline. So the end of period 1 begins period 2. So it does 2 things, right? It ends period 1, but it begins period 2. But the number here is not 2, it's 1. So the number corresponds to the end of period statement. So this is in keeping with the default of end of period cash flows. Then period 2 transpires and it ends in period 2. This tick mark here, that denotes the end of period 2, but also indicates the beginning of period 3. This is not a 3, it's a 2. It signifies the end. All right? So we begin with an example, and I'm going to use this for exercise of the concepts that you're already familiar with. You're probably familiar with this from high school, but I want you to be an expert in this concept, all right? In this model here, I have presented to you an interest rate of 8%. Now you're going to use only this 8%. Now in reality, there are many different rates available. These are the rates that are available to saving and investing, okay? And those are the trade-off to foregoing current consumption, money now, for later consumption at a price. And that price we're going to call right now the interest rate. So it is just 8%. There's only one. And here's the question. What is $1,000 invested today worth in 2 years' time? So I'm going to give up 1,000. So that in cash flows, that's a negative, right? So that's a negative 1,000, but I'm going to write 1,000 here on my timeline, but I keep a mental note that that's cash outflow. And I want to know at 8%, what is it worth in 2 years? And I want you to tell me how much of that is simple interest and how much is compound interest. And I'm going to give you 10 minutes to answer that. Now you might just look ahead at the answers. Please don't. Well, maybe I'll give you 5 minutes. But if I give you 10 minutes, promise not to cheat. So don't look at the answer ahead. Just try it. See if you can answer. I'm going to give you 10 minutes. I'll be back here. Feel free to write questions in the chat. All right, so how did you do? How's it going? Okay, so this is good. So we need this review, right? This is a review. I'm going to be reviewing for a few days, and then we're going to get into new stuff. But you need to be experts in at least the next 2 days. A real expert. So let's get you there. All right, so $1,000 in 2 years. So what's going to happen after the first year is that we're going to leave the $1,000 in this account. We imagine there's an account where we deposit the 1,000, and it becomes 1,000 plus a premium, something extra, right? The extra is going to be based on the fact that 1,000 was invested and 8% was earned. That makes sense, right? So that's the interest. So this is 1,000. If I was just to put a number on it, I mean, I could write it like, does everybody agree that that makes sense? That's the same thing. Or we just like to write, stick with me. I know most of you get it, but it's really important that you understand this perfectly. So that I can write it all those 3 ways, right? I can even put a 1 here. Why do I put a 1 here? Because I want that 1. I want to see a pattern, because I want to develop a pattern, a formula. There's a pattern here. So there's a 1 there, there's a 1 there. So 1 period has passed, and I have 1 accumulation factor. Right? 1.0 is a factor of accumulation on the 1,000. And in the end, we know the answer. The answer is 1,080. Very good. So what's going to happen in the second year? So that's going to stay in the account. Now in the second year, I'm going to follow along with what I've done initially. I'm going to have the 1,000. So what I'm going to get is, I'm going to get to invest the 1,000 again, and then this added amount, you see? So I'm going to invest this amount, and I'm going to get back in the second year 1,000, and I'm also going to get back the interest on the 1,000, and I'm also going to get the interest on the interest. Oh, I can't fit it in. Let me try it again. The interest on the interest. So everything gets, I have to do, actually, wait a second. I have to get interest on this and interest on this, plus I get my money back, right? I'll do that again. Let me write it like, okay, I'm going to write it like this. Right? That's what I'm going to get. I'm going to put it the 1080 in again, or put it in and get another 8%. Which is what? What am I doing here? I'm getting the so I'm getting this. That's the 1. But then I'm also getting right? So I'm going to get this back, which is really just this. So I'm recopying that. And then I'm getting this on 8%, 8% of this new amount, the accumulated amount. So I'm getting interest, but then I'm getting interest on top of interest. Do you see that? Now this is easy to put in your calculator. What I want to be able to do is show you a pattern. This is actually going to be the 1,000 and then 2 periods of growth. Because this one was 1 period, or not growth, but accumulation. This was 1 period of accumulation. Now I'm just going to put a second one. So we see this as the same pattern that we had before, like that. So what's happening is I'm going to get my money back, but I'm going to get more. If I just care about the amount of interest I'm getting on the initial amount, that's just the simple interest. If I care about the interest I'm getting on the interest, that's compound interest. Okay? So simple interest is calculated as though we just care about the time that has passed. So all I'm going to write is, for simple interest, the present value amount, that's present value, times the interest rate times, oh, let me put the symbols, times the number of years. So it's going to be, in this case, 1,000 times 0.08 times 2. That's simple interest. So simple interest is how much? So let's go to the beginning and then work through this, and then I'll talk about the compound interest as well. So what is it worth in 2 years? It's just a matter of making this calculation here, and I'm just going to do this mathematically, and then we'll talk about the financial keys on the calculator. How much is 1,000 to 2 accumulation factors of 8%, right? So if I just did this mathematically, I would put 1,000 times, I should use brackets, 1.08 use the y to the x key for 2 periods, close it, and that's your answer, $1,166.40. Should I do it again? So you see, this is not straightforward. Okay, Alejandra has the right number for the first answer, right? So we're going to tease apart all these answers. So again, that would be 1,000 times, with a bracket, 1.08 to the power of 2 makes 1,166.40. That's the answer to the question part A. So this answer would be, I'll put it down here first, 1,166.40. Don't feel bad if you don't get it, because I'm forcing you to get stuff that maybe no one asked forced you to figure out. Okay, so that's, do you see my 1? Let me do that again. 1,166.40. So that's the total value at 8%, assuming accumulation occurs at the end of the period and is always 8% in the 2 periods. Now I asked you which portion, so there's interest has been accumulated, right? There was $166.40 extra. So I'm asking you now to divide it up into simple and compound. The simple interest is, and some people wrote it in the chat, Kevin wrote it, it's 1,000 times the number, the interest rate times the number of years. So this is just multiplication, simple multiplication to get the interest after 2 periods is $160 in simple interest. But there is a portion, that is going to earn interest, and that's split up here. Right? There's going to be the $1,000 that's going to get, so if I expand this portion here, you'll see this is going to be 1,000 times 8% plus 80 times 8%. I'm going to divide it up differently to show you that what I have here in red, this and this are the interest known as simple interest. But this portion here that I will put in a different color, I'll put it in green. This portion is the interest on interest. This is just the principal. These are the simple interest, and this part is the interest on interest. That's known as the compound interest. So I used a color green for this. Can you guys see that? Hopefully everyone can see. So take some time to think about this. I'm going to fix this so it's clear. This is a comma here. All right, so the compound interest, how do we find it? Well, it is, in this problem, this is it here. A simple way to find it is to use the total amount of interest and you subtract off the simple interest. So the total interest was $166.40. The simple interest was $160, so the compound interest is $6.40. And you notice you will also find that by taking 80 times 0.08. So what would be a formula for that compound interest? What would be a good formula for that? So could the formula be, let's see, could it be just PV times I to the n? Does that work? The difference is that compound interest is in the exponents. Simple interest is just multiplication. And both go together to make the full interest payment. Okay? So take some time to review that. I don't know. It's a simple concept, but it takes time. Once you get it, it's simple. But it takes time just to tease it apart. Okay, so we have, you can put these notes about this on your formula sheet if that helps you. This will be the simple interest formula. And this one would be the compound interest formula. I guess I can put it up here. It's messy. And I'll put this one here. And compound interest is the interest on interest. Okay, so let's look at, now that so you need to remember that, okay? Now that we've done this, we've dissected the amount, and you understand that compounding happens in the powers, and simple interest is just a multiplicative concept where I'm getting, this and this, but I'm missing this if I ignore compounding and compound interest. So how do I get the answer in my finance calculator? So let's just look. I just wrote a bunch of notes here, trying to make the point. So here is the formula, the general formula for what we're doing. If I added more years, let's look at it here. If I added more years, I could generalize this, but for the formula that we've used, after 2 years, this is what we have. We call this the future value at year 2, end of year 2. This is the present value amount from year 0, so I write this, and I accumulate at 8%, so it's 1.08 for 2 periods. So this in the box is my basic time value of money formula. Future value is the present value times 2 periods of accumulation. Now, how do we get that in the calculator? Go to your time value of money row, Oh wait, well we did enter this analytically, right? I entered this into the calculator using, to begin with, using the y to the x key. So what did I do? I wrote 1,000, and then I wrote times, and then I put a bracket. Okay, let me do this again. So this is what I did, was 1,000 with multiplication and a bracket, and then I said 1.08, and then I used y to the x and 2, and then I closed the bracket and I hit equals. And that's how I got my answer. But you have the third row of your financial calculator, which conducts time value of money calculations. And let's use it. So the way you do this is you start from left to right, I recommend. You have to, for the test, write out all the formulas, and I'll explain to you how I want to see your answers, okay? So let me tell you about how to enter, and then I will talk about this formula. All right, so you enter from left to right, 2 into, this is, even though it's T in the formula, the calculator has an N. That's just the way it goes. N for the number of periods. And then you want to put 8. Notice it's not a decimal, okay? Even though the decimal is in the formula, I'm going to put 8, the whole number, into the interest per year period key. Then I'm going to tell the calculator that a cash flow of $1,000 has been invested, and I use a negative to tell the calculator that, into the principal value or present value amount. There are no payments in this problem. There are no intermediate payments. It's just one lump sum invested and accumulated for 2 periods. So this is a 0 here, and we'll talk about payments more in a bit. And then you ask the calculator to compute future value, and this is the number you'll see. And notice it's a positive, indicating that you will receive this amount in 2 periods. So we are accumulating to find the future value. So let's do that together on the calculator. If you haven't done it already, I'll do it with you. So I start from left to right and I enter 2 periods. I tell the calculator 8%, not 0.08. And then I tell the calculator $1,000 has been invested, no payments, and I ask to compute future value. Oops, compute future value, and it didn't work. Okay. What went wrong? Let's do it again. 2 into N, 8 into interest, 1,000 negative. Oh, this arrow is very useful when you over enter values. And then 0 into payment, and now compute future value. There you go. And it's a positive. So that's how you enter. Does anybody want me to show them again? Every calculator has its own way, but usually those symbols, those are the standard symbols in whatever calculator that you're using to enter those variables. Okay, so what I want to see in a test situation is I want to see this, and that's it. All of the rest, this will not get you any points, so you won't get no points for writing this. You get no points for just writing, repeating a formula that you have on a formula sheet. That gets you no points. I want to see the formula with the values entered. Well, this should actually be a 2 here, shouldn't it? I'm going to put a 2. I'm going to fix that. All right. And that's it. All of this will get you no points. This is maybe something you want to write up for yourself, but I'm not going to grade this. please hear me, because on the first assignment, if you do this, you get 0. Okay, that's not, I need you to understand the formula, demonstrate how to use it, and I don't need to know which calculator you used or how you entered values into the calculator. That's for you to know. Now, if you want to write it on your test, that's fine. It's just not going to get you any points. Okay, let's do it again. So I'm going to clear TVM. So second, clear TVM. Second, clear TVM. Oh, well, hopefully it's done. So I'm going to put 2 in N. 8%, remember, it says 8 as a whole number, not percentage, 0.08, it's 8. And then I enter 1,000 with a negative, because this is an investment, it's a cash outflow. Nothing in terms of payment. It's just one amount that accumulates, and then I ask to compute future value. That's it. Questions? Okay, what kind of calculator are you using? OB. Which calculator are you using? So one last time. 2 into N, 8 into interest, 1,000, negative into PV. Okay, so you need to set it up properly that that you have. So if you're not using my calculator and you have a free calculator, you need to know how it works. Make sure that this key has a 1 in it. And also make sure that it's in end mode and you didn't put it in begin mode. Those are 2 important things to check. Okay, so you need to check that. So continue, and then contact me if you want me to help you with that. We can meet in Teams and figure that out. Okay. Like the BA2 Plus, Texas Instrument version, this app costs about, I don't know, I think it's like $15, just to let you know. The free ones have some quirks, but once you figure them out, they're useful and they're free. All right, so then this is the summary of what we talked about with the simple and the compound interest. Any questions about that? Okay. Okay, so let's get to the next question. The next question is, with the time value of money formula or relationship, rather than finding the future value, let's find the present value. Okay, so if you have questions, let's meet in Teams. Write me an email and we'll try and connect sometime today. Okay? I'll make a meeting. I'll set up a meeting for us. Okay, so rather than looking for the future value, let's look for the present value. What are we talking about here? We're talking about, let me take this formula. So we have this formula, right? So we have this formula that we've derived together, so we understand it. But in this problem, I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to give you this and this. So you have all these variables. Instead of finding the future value, I want you to find the present value. Now this is easy mathematically, and it's easy with the financial calculator using the TBM keys, but conceptually I really need you to understand what's going on. So let's just do the math first, and then I'll talk about what it means, all right? So if I want to figure this out, I want to know what the value of $1,000 to be received in 2 years is. So as I explained, I don't have the present value or the principal amount, but I do have the future amount. So I can just algebraically solve this. I can solve this like this. I can solve for, let me do it here first and then I'll go there. I can solve this by, oh, this is supposed to be PV. 0 is equal to 1,000 divided by 1.08 squared. So I could do this on my calculator just using the regular keys. So I've just reversed this. I put the future value here, the present value I don't know, and then I want to solve for the present value by taking 1,000 divided by 1.08 squared. So you could start on the bottom. Anyway, you could just do this regular way. I'll show you a special way I like to do these kinds of calculations. And we also have a name for this thing here that we call it. So let's see. Mathematically, if I take 1,000 divided by 1.08 squared, so 1,000 divided by bracket 1.08 square, I could use this key here, close it, and that's my answer, 857.34. Do it again. So 1,000 divided by bracket 1.08 squared, close the bracket, equals, so 857.34 is the answer. So I have an answer. That's mathematically. And what I've done is used a different form of this relationship. I have taken FVT divided by 1 plus I to the t, and that's PV0. That's what I just figured out. I took FV over 1000 divided by 1 plus I to the power t to find PV0. So that means that PV0 on this timeline is here, and it's equal to 857.34. So through time, these amounts are related by the interest rate. $1,000 here through financial markets is worth 857.34 at time 0. So why is that the case? So you have two options. You can get $1 immediately, or you can get $1 at the end of a period from now. Which one do you choose? Option 1 or 2? Put it in the chat. So which is the most easiest? So which option is more valuable? $1 now or $1 in a year? Which one is more valuable? Daviana has made a statement. Anybody want to tell me which one they would choose? Option 1 or option 2? Daviana likes option 2. Well, the fact is, 1 is more valuable, yes. Option 1 is more valuable because you don't know what's going to happen. Right now, this is right now, you get $1. You're getting nothing for waiting, and who knows what's going to happen by the end of 1. If I guaranteed you $1, I can take away the uncertainty, but still, if you wait a year for the $1, it's less valuable, but it has a value today. What is the value today of $1? That is the question. In this problem that I've presented to you, there's a prevailing 8% interest rate. It means that there's a possibility for you to invest or save, whatever you want to call it. You can earn 8% on every dollar you give up. You can earn that over time. So if your preference, if you're able to forego consumption today, if you're able to give up that dollar today, it can become something in one period. So look, because of 8% prevailing, the $1 becomes how much? If I gave you an interest rate of 8%, it becomes $1.08. Now I'm using a dollar, but you can think of it as millions. Okay, so that's $1.08 million. So that's what it becomes because there's one interest rate out there. It makes it possible that you can make a trade. You can give up that dollar and it becomes $1.08. Today, so option 2, what is going on? So before I continue, so clearly at year 1, option 1 is more valuable than option 2, right? So that makes option 1 more valuable in year 1. But it should be the same at year 0. So what is the worth of option 2 in year 0? How do we think this through? I don't have anything right now. Can I give up something to take advantage of the 8%? How can I take advantage of 8%? Does anybody know? So this is this is the most simple model I can give you where there's just a prevailing 8% out there. But you have nothing today. However, if you pick this option, you get $1 at year 1. But what is it worth today? So what is that worth today? So I'm going to write it down a little more clearly because this might be a confusing graph. So option number 1 is worth $1.08 at the end of year 1. What is option 2 worth? Does it have any value? That's right, Angel. So you're going to do the exercise, what we just did before this. We can figure it out, but what is the thinking around this? Okay, let's make the calculation and then talk about it. So the calculation is, so here what we did was we made $1 times 1.08 was equal to $1.08, right? That's what we did here with 1 period. But over here, I have to go, my situation is that I have the present value of 0 times 1.08 is equal to $1 in the future. So it's the same formula, but I don't have the present value. That's what I want to find. So we do what we just did on the exercise before. So the present value of 0 is equal 1 divided by, now I'm going to tell you what this is called. This is called a discount factor. Okay, so this thing here that you've probably seen before, this is called the discount factor. And when you talk about discount, it means it makes the number smaller, right? A discount makes the value smaller. This one over here is called an accumulation factor. So this is called a discount factor. So I'm going to discount the $1 by 1.08. And I get that similar number. And you get 92, okay, so 0.93. Let's just round it to make it easy. So it's 93 cents. Everyone agree? So it's 93 cents. So the answer here is that option 2 is worth 93 cents today. Okay, now you're going to explain to me how does that make sense? Explain it to me. I'm going to circle the answer. So I'm going to tell you, option 1 was worth $1.08 at year 1, and option 2 is only worth $1. So option 1 is better at year 1. At year 0, so immediately, option 1 is still better because 1 is more than 93 cents. Again, it's better than option 2. Okay, so it should be, the option should be the same in any state of the world, any time. Okay, it should be better. So it's better now, and it's better at year 1. And I figured that out using the basic time value of money formula. So now, how does that make sense? What is 93 cents about? How can I explain that? I mean, I have an explanation, but could you try and explain what is that? I mean, it comes out of the math, but what does it mean? Anybody know? Or if you want me to just show you, I can explain. I'm off the screen, aren't I? Oh, I hate when this happens. Hold on. I'll just make it smaller here. Okay, so my question was, explain 93 cents to me. Okay, so what the story here in option 1 is $1 can become $1.08 because I can invest it, right? To become $1.08 using 8%. So here I'm lending. I'm like a lender, an investor, to see that. That's how. So you're like a lender, an investor taking advantage of 8%. In option 2, how are you acting? You don't have anything to lend or invest, but you have something in year 1. So you can behave as a borrower, borrowing against the dollar that's going to accrue at year 1. You can borrow this much now, do whatever you want with it, and then pay back $1 because that's 8% interest on 93 cents. You can pay back $1 with the money you get at year 1. Okay, so here in option 2, you would be, to understand this value, you're acting as a borrower. Now, it depends on the story we tell, But this is the idea of taking advantage of the prevailing interest rate. I'm going to say borrow against future earning to take advantage of the 8% rate. So you might not do this, but this is what's possible. Like, it's the same when we talk about capital gains. You might not sell something, but it has an inherent value. If you were to sell it, you would realize, if the value went up from when you originally bought it, you would realize capital gains. It's the same here. I might not do this, but that $1 has a potential value today of 93 cents because I could borrow, okay, this is written really badly. I could borrow against, can you see that? Borrow against future earnings to take advantage of the 8% rate. And that's what gives it value. Another story I could tell is that to get $1 later, I would have to invest 93 cents today. That's the other simple story I can tell. Because that's what the 8% means. This is seen as a negative cash flow either way, to earn this later. When you borrow, it's a negative against you, right? Because you have to pay it back. So this is the most simple explanation that I can give you, but with the depth of the answer, I hope it doesn't confuse you. You can review this video, but essentially that 8% has possibilities, gives possibilities to help you interpret cash flows at any point in the timeline. And you can tell stories around that, just as I did. $1, what is it worth in one period? Well, I've only given you one thing you can do with it. In reality, there's many things, but in this setting, there's 8% prevailing. So you could invest it at 8% and earn this. Option 2, you're going to get $1 later. The future promise of $1 has value to you today. The future promise of $1 is worth 93 cents to you today. It means if you had to, you would invest 93 cents to get that $1 later. Or knowing you get $1 later for sure, you could borrow against that future earning of $1 and take advantage of the 8% rate. And I write $1, but this is for each $1 invested, okay? So we call it a discount factor because this number is less than this number. So I'm going to ask you again, which option is more valuable? Option 1, where you get $1 today. Option 2, where you get $1 in one period. Which one is more valuable at any point in time? Very good. Option 1. I think you said that originally, but do you understand it better? Very good, Daviana. All right. Good, Alejandra. So you guys following me? I've simplified, as complex as it seems, I've simplified this the most I can. By leaving one rate, it's always option 1, right? So $1 today is worth more than $1 in the future. you get more money faster and more possibilities. And possibilities, things you can do with it. Okay. Now I've eliminated uncertainty. If you add uncertainty, you would always pick $1 today anyways, because you don't know what's happening in the future. Things could be worse. You could be worse off. And what if that $1 in the future is not guaranteed? You also know the purchasing power of $1 today. That's why you choose today. You know what it's worth. Okay, so let's get back to the notes. So we left off, oops, I left a note. So we left off with this. So this was the example using 2 periods, just using the formula and putting 1,000 2 periods from today. I have to use 2 discount factors to get the answer, and it's $857.34. That's what it's worth to me today. So if I have to receive $1,000 at the end of year 2, and I want that, it's worth $857.34 today. All right. That's that. So that's the second way of thinking about this. The first one was to say borrowing against, but this is what it would be worth to me to spend to get that in a world where there's 8% return. This is smaller than this amount. That's the discounted amount. It's less. Now, what if someone offered you $1,000 in the future in 2 years, and they said you can have $1,000 in 2 years if you give me, $700? That would be worth it to you, right? Because it's much more valuable. This is much more valuable than $700. You would be prepared to pay just this amount to get this. So if somebody offered you for $700, that would be a bargain, really. And Davian is asking if inflation works the same way. Yes, we're going to talk about inflation and relate it to real interest rates later. But right now, we're going to refer to this as the prevailing interest rate that includes inflation. So we'll separate all that later. But right now, we're just going to work with one. But unless you're talking about inflation, the concerns about inflation affecting the price of things, which changes your purchasing power, yes, inflation works that way too. That makes you want money today as opposed to in the future, if you have a choice. All right, so this is known as the fair price. And I'm just going to add, if someone offered you a deal to get $1,000 in 2 years for $700, you should take it. Oh, my writing is cut off. There you go. Sorry. I'm going to have to work on placing this screen properly. So if someone offered you a deal to get $1,000 in 2 years for $700, you should take it because it's a bargain. You're getting it at a discount or bargain. Because it's really worth $857.34. All right, so now let's make this calculation in our financial calculator. I've done this so many times in the notes. Okay, so here, this is how you would enter this in the calculator. So for the test situation, I want you to write out this formula and the answer. That's all I want. Well, and this. You don't have to write. Writing this formula will get you no points, so don't waste time on that. You need to write the appropriate formula with the numbers included. Now to enter this in the calculator, notice that we will enter as before, 2 into n, 8 into interest. We leave the present value blank. We put 0 as the payment because there are no payments. It's just one lump sum at the beginning that accumulates, or sorry, a future sum that we're discounting of $1,000. There's nothing else in between, so we don't deal with that. And we ask our calculator to compute. Notice I put a positive here. I left it as positive because we're going to receive the amount of $1,000 in the future. So the answer you get is a negative, indicating that to get $1,000 in the future, you have to spend $857.34 now. That's the fair price of getting $1,000 in the future. Or, as I explained in the last example, knowing you're getting $1,000 in the future, you could borrow $857.34, use it however you want, and then knowing that you get $1,000 in a year, pay back that loan. And this is known as discounting to find the present value. Okay, so try that on your calculator and we will continue. So we can do a little bit more before the class is over. 15 minutes. Got it? Can we move forward? So we are now going to think of the two, well, it's one relationship and we can think about it in different ways. The relationship remains this one. This is the relationship here. And depending on which variables we have, we can solve for the outstanding variable. So we rearranged the formula to solve for the present value when we were given the future value, the interest, and time. But we could also rearrange the formula to solve for the other two variables, interest and time, right? Or duration of the investment. So that's what we're going to do next. I'm going to do this with the formula, and again, we're going to use the calculator financial TVM keys to solve. You guys have been quiet for 10 minutes. Can you guys tell me if you are okay with me continuing? Did you get the right answer? Did you get the right answer in the last exercise? Okay. Okay. Okay, good. So here we have this problem. This time, I'm going to give you the future value, I'm going to give you the present value and time, and you have to find the interest rate. Now this is a real, this is a key reason why we like to use a financial calculator. Now this is a simpler problem, but there's more complex ones where I want to solve for I, and it's not so straightforward, and you'll see those. One is the internal rate of return, which we will discuss, and it's hard to solve it manually, so we need our financial calculator to facilitate that. You could solve it manually, but it just takes long time. Okay, so this is the problem. A financial security sells for $900 today and promises to pay $1,000 in 2 years. What is the rate of return on the investment? So I've laid this out. This is this formula. I'm going to plug in what I have here. And so this would be what you would write on your test. In terms of drawing the timelines, you don't have to draw timelines for simpler problems, but I recommend them if there's anything with payments in it or a question of timing of those payments. You should draw the timeline on a test and your test solutions, okay? So we can solve this algebraically. It's not that hard in this case for this model. We just have to isolate I, so we could do that. Let's see if we can do that on a separate page. No, yeah, let's do it on a separate page and then get to the calculator. So it's going to be $1,000 is the future value of $900 invested today, and I want to find I, and it's 2 years. Sorry, going back 2 years. Okay. So algebraically, we know how to do this. 1,900, 1 plus I squared. So I can cross those out. So it's 10 over 9. I'm not going to round anything right now. I'm just going to do it like that. And take the, here, let's do it like this, square root and minus 1. And that's my I. So that's algebra. You guys look at that for a moment and solve it in your calculator and tell me the answer. Anyone? Okay, very good. So if you solve this, you got 5.41%. Okay, so this is going to be equals to 5.41%. You should round it. Yeah. You should round it. You can also write that as 0.541. And in general, use the rounding rules that I ask you to follow on the tests, okay? And right now I'm not being specific, but always follow rounding rules indicated on assignments and tests. I'm going to be giving you many assignments, like just practice assignments. That's what I mean. So always follow rounding rules. So it might say 4 decimal places as a percentage and 6 as a decimal, something like that. All right, so you were right. Now let's use the calculator to solve that. Let's use the TVM keys to solve, all right? Daviana, I don't know what you did wrong. Okay, Daviana, 10 divided by 9. Here, let me write this out and then we'll get into the finance key. So it's 10 divided by 9 equals, and then this function square root, right? And then minus 1 equals. That should work. Now, if your calculator is giving you errors and you're not using my calculator, you have to figure out how your calculator works. Or ask me and email me. We can meet and work at it. This is the only way to get I. Okay, let's do it here. 10 divided by 9 equals square root minus 1. There you go. Daviana, I'm not sure what you did. Okay, so I did it there. All right, so now let's put it into the TVM keys. Now notice I haven't erased the TVM function. As long as you overwrite every single key in the row of the TVM, time value of money row, you'll be fine. But just in case, let's hit second, clear TVM. So now it's clean. Now I want to put in 2 years, and interest is 8, and I know the present value is 900, which I invest, so I put a negative. There are no payments. Oh no, the interest rate was not 8. We have to solve for that. Sorry to confuse you. Let's start over again. So 2 into n. Interest I don't know, I'll leave that blank. PV is 900 negative. Payment is not going to be part of this problem. There is 0 payment. 0 is the payment. There's no payment. And then I'm going to make 1,000, which is a positive for future value. And I asked to compute interest, and there it is, as a percentage, not a decimal. So 5.41%. Okay. Okay. So you guys have an idea of what we're going to do in this class. We're going to spend this week on these notes and some of the things I've sent you, and hopefully squeeze in interest rate conversions. So spend some time today reviewing in preparation of next class. Make sure you resolve your questions. If you still don't get it, please contact me, and I can meet with you to resolve any underlying issues to this point. The trick here would be putting a negative here, but a positive here, okay? All right, so I'm going to leave you now, and I will ask you to continue with the review. I don't know, keep reviewing up until, oh, let me see, I'll give you a page to review till, but I'll review it all together, but you guys can work ahead up until, let's see, here, I guess. Okay, to page 30, so the end of 33. So try that on your own, and we'll see you tomorrow. And I still have to figure out, my slides are so big, they don't fit on my screen. See you tomorrow. Email me if you want to talk. Have a nice day.